Lost Omens Fire Branch just came out, and there's a lot of feats I like in there. But we've also got Treasure Vault to deal with. So today I thought I'd combine the two with the Celebrity Chef. Let's dive in. So if you didn't know, Treasure Vault came out with a bunch of alchemical food items. So I thought, what better class to do a chef with than an alchemist? And since a lot of the food items are mutagens, we're going to take the mutagenist research field here, allowing us to reuse a mutagen once per day. For ancestry, I know a lot of people are going to want to go halfling for the frying pan weapon, but I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going hobgoblin, and we're going to take the Ifrit heritage. There are a couple Ifrit feats that we might want to take for this build. Plus the fire resistance is always nice. Then of course our background is going to be cook. I mean, what else are we going to take? The season feat will give us a +1 and later a +2 to craft food and drink, including potions. Our starting stats for this build will be Strength 12, Dexterity 12, Constitution 14, Intelligence 18, Wisdom 12, and Charisma 10. Okay, our first feat for this build is going to be Alchemical Familiar. Familiars are always good for alchemists, but especially for this build, as it will be able to help us in combat and in the kitchen. Manual Dexterity is pretty much a must-take familiar ability for this build, so it can actually help us in the kitchen. And another good one is Valet, allowing it to help us by handing us items we need in the kitchen, as well as in combat. You'll want to take some master abilities as well in certain situations, because we will be taking a feat that will let us give those to our allies. Then for our ancestry feat for this level, we're going to be taking Alchemical Scholar. This will give us a bunch more recipes that we can use to create alchemical food items. And as a celebrity chef, we need to be able to make as many of those food items as we can. Then for level 2, you can pretty much take anything you want here for your class feats. I went with Alchemical Savant to help out with identifying alchemical items. But you could most certainly go with something like Quick Bomber here. But on the free archetype side, this is where we'll take our celebrity dedication. This will give us the upstage reaction. If a foe attempts a skill check and doesn't get a critical success, then you can attempt a skill check using the same skill. If you critically succeed, then you gain a +1 bonus to attack rolls, skill checks, saving throws, and perception checks until the end of your next turn. If you regularly succeed, then you don't get the bonus unless the foe failed at their skill check. In addition, if you use Earn Income and the task level is higher than your level, you gain a +1 bonus to your check. We are a celebrity chef here, so why wouldn't we take this dedication? For general feats, we are of course going to be taking Toughness, Die Hard, and Canny Acumen for our will saves. But we're also going to be taking Prescient Planner and Prescient Consumable. These will allow us to pull out the food items we need for our combat without spending reagents, as long as we have the gold for them, as well as any other consumable item we happen to need. Moving on to level 4, we're going to take Efficient Alchemy. This allows us to make double the number of alchemical items during downtime. This, however, does not reduce the number of materials we need. It also doesn't change the number of items we can make using Advanced Alchemy. This way we have a bunch of alchemical food items that we can hand out that don't expire at the end of the day. Then of course, I do have a new feat from Firebrands that you'll need to take here, which is of course, You're an Embarrassment. When an ally within 30 feet fails a will save against an incapacitation effect, you can spend a reaction to let that ally roll again with a +1 bonus. But they have to use the second result even if it's worse. And regardless of whether they succeed or not, they are immune to this feat for 10 minutes. You're not going to use this one too often, but we need a 4th level celebrity feat here, and this is the best one. And then of course we get our ancestry feat at level 5. We're going to take Molten Wit. So we either become trained in Deception and gain the Charming Liar skill feat, or we become trained in Diplomacy and gain the Group Impression skill feat. If you're already trained in one and not the other, you must select the second one. But if we're trained in both, then we get a skill of our choice in either skill feat. We're probably going to want to pick Diplomacy here, because that Group Impression will help us deal with crowds. For today's first teamwork report, you're pretty much going to play this exactly like you would any other mutagenist, except you're going to be using mostly food items instead of elixirs and mutagens. Bottom line, you're going to want to be handing out your alchemical food items to allies that will take advantage of them. And of course, using them on yourself when you need them. But for the rest of this teamwork report, I'm going to give you a few options on good alchemical food items you could take for this build. Both versions of cooperative waffles are awesome here. They both give a +1 bonus to checks in which you follow the experts. But with the greater version, that bonus also applies to the bonus that you receive from aid checks. Egg Cream Fizz is also a great option if you're doing a lot of exploring. And Mender's Soup is amazing if you need to repair the champion's shield. There are many others. I'll go over some of the higher level ones in the second teamwork report. Okay, at level 6, we'll take Combine Elixirs to combine 2 food items together for 1 big bonus. Then Mesmerizing Gaze might not seem very good, but we do need it for a feat that is good later in this build. Then for level 8, of course we're going to be taking Perpetual Breath. If there's a particular food item that you really like that isn't on your Perpetual Infusions, then this is the place to take it. Otherwise, you can pretty much pick what you want here. Then we'll need to take our second dedication, the Familiar Master dedication. This is just for more familiar abilities. Since we already have a familiar, we do get the enhanced familiar feat here. So we now have 4 familiar abilities per day. We will also want to take a skill feat here that is brand new from Firebrand's Grudging Compliment. As a reaction, if a foe within 30 feet damages you or succeeds at a skill check, you can make a diplomacy check against that opponent's will DC. If you crit succeed, the foe is flat-footed to everyone for a round. If you regularly succeed, the foe is flat-footed to your attacks for a round. This one is great to combine with the item bonuses you're giving from your food items. Our level 9 Ancestry feat is going to be Scorching Disarm. Once per day we can attempt a disarm check, and if we succeed, the target takes 46 fire damage unless they drop the weapon. If you critically succeed, they take the damage and drop the weapon. This is the only feat in the game that I've found that actually makes Disarm worth it. We could be pretty good with athletics in this build, and we really just need to succeed for this feat to be useful. Then we'll want to pick up Merciful Elixir to get rid of those paralyzed and fear conditions, because we will want Elixirs of Life to be one of our formulas. Then remember when I said that we wanted master abilities for this build? Well, we want them for Familiar Mascots, which will let us give our master abilities to an ally. Next we have Extend Elixir to make our food item buffs last longer. Then Incredible Familiar for even more familiar abilities. Or if you want a specific familiar, you could take Improved Familiar here as well. For our level 13 Ancestry feat, we'll take Can't Fall here. This will allow us to keep an ally up at 1 hit point once per day. Then for level 14, it's time for Glib Mutagen. While we're under the effects of a Silver Tongue mutagen that we have created, we ignore circumstance penalties to deception, diplomacy, intimidation, and performance checks. In addition, anyone that listens to us speak understands our language as though we were speaking their language. But this does not mean we are speaking the language or we understand it. This one is going to be great for when we're doing cooking shows for audiences. Like, say, when we're earning income. Then I've got another new one from Lost Omens Firebrands, Acknowledge Fan. We choose one creature that we can see. That creature must make a will saving throw against our class DC. A successful save means stun 1 and immune to this feat for 1 day. A failed save means stun 2. A creature that critically fails their saving throw is paralyzed until the end of your next turn. This one is great because as long as they don't critically succeed, they're losing at least 1 action no matter what. And as I've said on this channel many times before, getting rid of enemies' actions is always good. Next up is Persistent Mutagen. We now only have to use 1 of our favorite mutagen in order to be affected all day. Thus we can save our other reagents to buff allies. Then for our third dedication, we'll want to take the Druid dedication. And we'll pick up the Flame order here because there's a couple of feats we need that require that order. Moving on to our last Ancestry feat. We'll want to pick up Cantorian Restoration. which will allow us to cast Breath of Life when an ally dies within 60 feet of us, except that the spell heals 68 plus our con modifier damage. At level 18, it's time for Improbable Elixirs, allowing us to make potions with our alchemical reagents. Then Fire Lung so we can see through smoke. Then Basic Druid Spellcasting so we can cast that Fireball if we want to. And the last feat for this build is going to be Advanced Elemental Spell. And yes, we can take that feat because all it requires is one of the elemental orders, which we have with the Flame Order. That will give us the Combustion Focus spell, which will let us do some good fire damage. Now real quickly, let's go over some of the higher level alchemical food items you could make in this build. Either version of Assassin Vine Wine is very good for when enemies are trying to sneak up on you. They both give Tremor Sense out to a range of 30 feet to the drinker. In addition, the aged version actually makes the area around the drinker difficult terrain. And any version of Poison Fizz gives an item bonus on saves against being poisoned and petrified. In addition, the drinker can also breathe a 15-foot cone poison breath weapon. And an owlbear egg can make all foes within 30 feet frightened. If you enjoyed this build, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more teamwork builds. If you want to learn more about the lore of Pathfinder 2e, you can check out these videos by my buddy Jeff, who is a part of this channel if you didn't already know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.